With the first pick in the 2017 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Myles Garrett, defensive end, Texas A&M.
All right, Bucky, instant draft grade. Myles Garrett, they get it right?
Yeah, they got it right. They had to get it right. They had to take this guy #1 overall. When you look at a #1 prospect, a blue chip prospect, he checks off the boxes in all areas. Great character, great athleticism, very productive, has a high ceiling. He has everything that you look for. You see the get off, the burst, all pro ability. If he's healthy, he's a guy that should be a dominant player. And when you're the Cleveland Browns playing in the AFC North, you have to be able to knock the quarterback around. Myles Garrett has the tools to be able to do so. Yes, he has to clean up some of the technique things, but you can't pass on a guy like this because he's simply too talented to bypass to take another prospect.
I believe the story was that prior to a bowl game, a certain team decided to have their defensive end line up 3 yards offsides to try to mimic what Myles Garrett can do as a defensive end. You see, Myles Garrett, he did not attend the draft in Philadelphia, said he wanted to be surrounded by the people that he believed helped him get to this point, that he could not bring all of them with him, so he decided to stay back home. Certainly speaks to the type of young man he is. And that was actually something that we kicked around Lance at the Combine.
Right.
He has a lot of interest, and some teams were a little concerned about that as he shows you the heart of rock and roll. And I can get behind that because that's Huey Lewis in the News show.
You know, he's just a different guy. He is, I don't think it means he doesn't love football. He's just a more diverse person. He is somebody, we know about his love for the dinosaurs. He's a guy who's really into the 1970s culture. He's also a guy who can vertical leap 40 inches and bench press 33 times. And he can be an absolute game wrecker if he's on his game. And I think what teams are going to have to figure out, well, what Cleveland has decided that they've figured out, is that the potential that he will reach his potential, because it is an immense potential. But in a weird way, the tape his senior season was his least impressive of the 3 seasons he's played at Texas A&M.
You see him unfolding the jersey there from the box. I wonder if they had to bring more than one team. I wonder if they tried to protect themselves or if they were so certain that it would be the Cleveland Browns. As it seems like they managed to get this one right.
They did manage to get it right. Hopefully he can spend some time talking to Bruce Smith, who handed him that jersey, and find some tricks of the trade, some tips that'll help him get to the quarterback consistently.
Well, as much as we might be able to go on about Myles Garrett, why don't we get the opinion of his head coach these last few years at Texas A&M? And I would give the Texas A&M salute as we toss it out to Dave Damashek in Philadelphia, but I'm all about Purdue Pete. I'm all about that sledgehammer and that vacant gaze of that serial killer-looking mascot. Dave.
Yes, he joins us for a seminal moment at Texas A&M, the first person ever drafted, first overall in the NFL. First of all, congratulations, Coach Kevin Sumlin.
Oh, appreciate it. It's not about me. It's about him, and you know, you could see the celebration there, and what he's talking about. You know, he wanted to be around the people that helped him get this far. He wanted everybody to be able to enjoy it, and it's a great celebration. I'm happy for the family and happy for him.
Describe this kid, Coach.
Well, he's I think you know, like everybody said, he beats to a little bit of a different drum.
Right.
He's got a book in his hand all the time. He listens to old school music. Very cerebral, very quiet. You know, but when he says something, people listen. And when he's on the field, you know, he's as active and as violent as anybody there is in the game.
Now, you had another guy, Von Miller, another defensive end / outside linebacker. Now you have Myles. What's the difference between the two? You know,
I think Myles is, obviously he's bigger. I mean, he's a 260-pound guy, but is extremely fast. You know, Von, he's dipped below the 4.5s running, you know.
Right.
And that's, I'm not going to say that Myles is that fast, but he's a bigger guy, really athletic. I think the thing that separates him is his ability to bend, turn corners, and keep his balance, but also play with power and change and be able to transition speed to power quickly.
Pull back the curtain for us, Coach. How much involvement did you have, contact with Sashi Brown? There was a lot of talk about maybe they would go Mitch Trubisky here, the Browns. They wind up with your guy here. Did you have a lot of back and forth with the Browns?
There's always back and forth, you know. So you're part of. I've been part of this process, you know, for the last 5 years at Texas A&M, and 9 years as head coach, even assistant coach. You know, the guys are going to call. They're going to do their homework. They're going to get information. I think what's important is that you're truthful with people, and that people can trust you as a coach, and You know, because we come here every year just about, and yeah, there's a little bit of conversation. I think, and as coaches we talk too. I think there was some conversations with Larry Fedora also, and so you know, there's a lot of posturing I've learned over the last few years that going on, and a lot of talk that's out there. And a guy told me 5 years ago, said, Kevin, don't believe anything 10 days before the draft, what you hear. So everybody knew. I mean, obviously Cleveland knew. Myles must have known because he had that T-shirt on underneath the Adidas, huh?
Yeah.
That's the first thing I said.
Right.
Somebody knew something, right? So otherwise he'd have had to wear that Adidas T-shirt the rest of the night.
You did make a promise to all the 12th men there in College Station a few years ago when it was Johnny Football, Mike Evans, and the rest. A gathering force now in the SEC. Coach Sumlin has this team loaded with NFL prospects, starting off with Myles Garrett here in 2017. All right, let's get it over to Mark Isto. Congratulations again, Coach.